please do feel free to drop questions in throughout the session, because I'm very much like, I work really well with, but what does that mean for me? And how can I help? Okay, so a little bit of background, for a bit more background on me. So I am an international MC and host, which means effectively people pay me to introduce other people on stages, to have conversations, to do like panel discussions and that sort of stuff. In terms of getting paid speaking, so I started off working in sales. Rick, I worked in healthcare for years. So when you're talking about dealing with medical professions, that was me. So I've got lots of connections to some of the stuff that you're doing. I used to sell into healthcare professionals. First, it was health and well-being to organizations. Then it was pure healthcare technology. I used to sell the booking systems that they use in hospitals and private practices. So I understand the talking to healthcare professionals versus talking to the rest of the world. They have a very different language, and each different profession has a different language. So I did that for years. And when I was doing it, I was growing my business. And so I was speaking on stages, and then friends of mine would invite me to come and host for them. And I remember being on stage hosting it, and somebody said to me, do you do this and how much do you charge? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, hold up, I could charge for this. I was just doing this as fun in order to help somebody out. Then people started finding me on LinkedIn. And so I thought, I haven't even told people this is my thing. So what would happen if I actually decided I'm going to put a stake in the sand and just say, this is what I do, and let's see what happens from there. And I might have had an upper hand because I worked in sales. So two things. One, I had a full-time job, so I wasn't really concerned about whether they paid or didn't pay or how much they paid initially. I didn't need it to keep a roof over my head and food on the table. And secondly, with a sales background, I really didn't have a problem with negotiating a fee, because I was going to have to take time off work to do this. And so I needed to make it work. And so I think from that regard, I always thought about speaking slightly differently than a lot of business owners I watch who step into this space. It stays in the hobby side hustly thing. Why is nobody paying me? And the truth is, often the reason that it doesn't translate is because it is a side hustle hobby thing. You're treating it like a side hustle hobby thing. So it's paying you like a side hustle hobby thing, right? Whereas I was treating it like a business from the beginning. This is what I do. This is my profession. These are my fees. And what I knew as well is that in order to be able to demonstrate what I did, I was watching what other people and other speakers were doing. And normally what happens is people go, oh, I don't have all of that. They have really good video and they're really good, and I don't have any of that stuff. Whereas I went, okay, I need to get that stuff, because if that's what I need to look like visually, if that's what the market's expecting to be able to evaluate me, then I'm going to need to get that stuff. So for me, when I did my first few speaking engagements, I treated those engagements like marketing engagements. They didn't really pay me a huge amount, and I was okay with that. But if they had the right audience, if they had good videographers and photographers, I even took that stuff on myself. So the first time I did the Change Now Summit in Paris, I brought my husband with me. They paid. At the time, they didn't pay me very much. I'm going to be honest. It was their very first year, so they didn't have a huge amount of budget. I was brand new, so I really couldn't demand a huge amount of budget. And furthermore, I didn't know what I was asking for anyway. But I looked at the gig and they said they were going to have 3,000 people internationally. And it was genuinely a gig much bigger than anything I'd done before. So I took it despite the piddly fees, and I used those fees to cover, because they didn't cover my travel and accommodation. And I wasn't wise enough back then to negotiate this stuff. Okay. So I had to pay to get there. I had to pay for my food. I had to pay for my accommodation, because I dragged my husband along. I had to pay for his ticket too. So by the time we'd done all of this, I may have had like 50 euros left, if that, right? So it made me no money. Maybe it even cost me a little bit. It made me nothing. But I looked at the list of names of people there, and there were names for some like really large organizations. I looked at the setup. I negotiated that I would get the video footage, I would get the photographs, and I chased them until they gave it to me, because the photos came quick, but the video took a lot longer. But I didn't take any chances either. I brought my husband. He did behind the scenes footage. He did footage of me on stage. We got that stuff out straight away. He was like my social media guy. Somebody came off stage and said, oh my gosh, the host was really good. He's, you reckon? She's my wife. Camera out. Do you mind doing like a quick video testimonial? I left with 12 video testimonials, video footage, photographs, social media presence, and I used that for the next year. In the space of 18 months, I went from that gig to interviewing. I think that year I interviewed Monica Lewinsky on stage for another large event that came off the back of that one, mind. So I was in Lithuania as well that year. I introduced Kunal Nair, who's from The Big Bang Theory. I did something with Nick Kershaw, who was like that 80s pop star. I got invited to do an event with him. I got a video testimonial from Paul Pullman, who is the ex-CEO of Unilever. He was like their CEO for 15 years. This guy got on camera and said that he thought I was good. And that was in 18 months, right? So it's not, I didn't do 25 gigs. I just did my gigs super strategically and my profile grew. My fees went up like 10 times easily in that time period. But what I noticed was that the reason I managed to do that is because I thought about a few things very early on that helped. Firstly, I thought about not just the marketing, not just the fee, but actually what else could I get from this engagement? So I thought about the total value of the deal. And often what people are thinking about, especially in the initial days, when they want to translate into paid speaking, and I'll come back to different ways you can get paid to speak, but especially in the early days when people want to transition to paid speaking, I find often the mindset goes something like this. I've been doing this for years. I'm really good. I get great feedback. Other people get paid. I should get paid. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. It's like going, the only other way I can put it is when I was getting married, we were looking for our wedding band. Any of you married? Been to weddings? Bands are important, okay? Bands are really important. I was getting married in Italy. Everything else was Italian. I just wanted something that was going to have a nice feel. And my family loved music, so I needed good music. Otherwise, I was going to be hearing this for the rest of my life. And we'd have these bands come out when we went out to Italy to come visit us, and they would describe what they did. Now, I'm hiring a band for my wedding day, a day I don't intend to do more than once. So it's a pretty important occasion for me. And you are going to describe to me how it is you perform. Can I just see that for myself, please? I know what my people want. I'm not saying you're bad, but can I just see it for myself? Speaking, very similar. There are lots of people that speak on the same topic, but how you deliver, how you engage, what your unique take on it is, you can describe that until you're blue in the face. But sometimes if somebody can just see you in action, it's going to speak 1,000 times more. The band I hired is because I was falling asleep as we were listening to band after band. And this one band came on and I went, who's that? Who is that? And I hired them with confidence and I couldn't negotiate their fee. These fools knew their worth. They pissed me off something chronic. They knew they were good. They knew what the rest of the market had out there and they knew they were good. And we could not negotiate their fees down at all. And the thing is, I didn't care. And I didn't care because I've seen them and I wanted them. I didn't want anybody else. I wanted them. So if I couldn't get away with negotiating, I was just going to have to figure out how to make it work. And so that's what we did. And so speaking is very similar. You get paid more for a couple of reasons. You get paid because you've got great content and you do a great job. You get paid because your marketing collateral backs that up, because anybody can slap a fee on something. But if I'm going to believe it, I'm going to look it up. And if you don't believe me, just think of a hotel website you've looked at before and thought, please, ain't nobody paying that. It's not going to happen. With your tired photos and your 1970s bed linen, I am not paying that fee. Not going to happen. And then you've looked at other hotel websites before and they've had that red carpet leading up to the front door and the man at the front with his little hat and you just thought, oh, Lord, this price. You just known. You've just instinctively known it's going to be expensive. And so when you see that fee and it says $500 a night, you're like, I thought so. Now you might not want to pay it, but you're not going to argue it. I'm not saying that they'll always pay your fee. It may be outside of your price range, but you're not going to argue the fee. And when I'm talking about commanding your fee, it's when people get it. They mightn't like it. It might be outside of their budget, but they get why you charge what you charge, and they respect that. And they expect you to charge those kind of fees, right? And often people just want to slap a price on something, but they don't want to do the legwork. And it doesn't need to be difficult, because the other thing I hear a lot is, oh, but I don't have all that stuff because, you know, I haven't spoken on the big stages, and I don't have a Monica Lewinsky name or any big companies I've worked at before. I did not have that when I started. I was little old Lovelda, and I had to make it up. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew where I was from. I didn't have any big names. And so rather than focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you do have, because often what you do have isn't reflected anyway. And you're so busy worrying about what you don't have, right? So that doesn't help you, right? So you're there saying, I don't have these big names, but I'm like, but you've been working in the industry for 25 years and you've worked with over 5,000 people on this, and none of that is there. But that to me feels like credibility. That isn't even there. So if you can't even put out what you have right now, even when you have those big things, they're not going to come out. So I do a lot of work with people in terms of developing that profile and pulling those things out. When I started, I'll tell you how creative I got. I had none of that stuff. So I was like, I remembered a photo of me back in, I think, depending on where you are, junior high school, like I was like at the beginning. And I remember, because I was always that kid, was like, pick me, I'll go on the stage. Pick me, I'll do the acting. Pick me. I was that kid, right? Most kids were quiet. You could count on Lovelda to raise her hand if it was something to do with being in front of a stage. That was just me. And I remember this photograph of me delivering to an assembly, and I think it was around about 300 people. And I just sat and thought I must have been about 13, because it was right near the beginning. So I must have been around about 13, maybe 14. So for whatever reason, I landed on age 13. I can't remember precisely what it is, but it was 13 or thereabouts. Maybe I was 14. I definitely wasn't 15. I was either 13 or 14, but for whatever reason, 13 landed. And the truth is, I'd probably spoken on stages long before that. This is the only visual I can remember. There was a photograph. So I put speaking on stages since the age of 13. Not a lie. Not a lie. 100% true. 100% true. Now, was I consistent every single year since the age of 13? No. Life got in the way. I met boys, I went to uni, other things happened, but I'd always been that person who'd been presenting. Even when I was at uni, when I took a job with Microsoft, I was traveling around presenting on behalf of Microsoft. I could say it congruently because I genuinely have been that person who has been confident on a stage since a very young age. I was never that kid who cried during ballet rehearsals. I was probably one right at the front going, look at me, mom. That was always me. So I could confidently say that I've been speaking since I was 13. And at 13 is an age where I remember there was a reasonable sized audience. So that's what I ran with, speaking on stages since the age of 13. I then sat and realized that I had my own radio show, and I'd stopped and started radio shows and podcasts like nobody's business. I don't think anybody was listening, y'all. I genuinely don't think anybody was listening to me. Didn't matter. What did matter was I interviewed a lot of people in the space of a short time. So I went back and I was like, who did I interview? And when I did a count, I was like, I must have interviewed easily, conservatively, over 100 people. So that went in my bio because I moderate and I do panel interviews. And it's useful to know that the person who's doing your panel interview is not doing it for the first time, that perhaps this isn't their first rodeo. So I ran with that. Now, are these big, crazy things? No, they're not big household names. It's not super exciting. It's pretty blah in some ways, but it was the right things for my audience, because the number of times when I was introduced, the thing they'd pull out is, here's Lovelda, she's been speaking on stages since the age of 13. Why? Because I told them, right? Now they'll say she's interviewed people like Monica Lewinsky and why? Because I told them. So the problem isn't that you haven't necessarily done these things. The problem is it isn't positioned. The other reason I find that people don't get paid is that it's not a service that's available for hire. What I mean by this is, remember when I said earlier, you treat it like a side hustle thing at the side that it's this nice little fun thing I do, right? So if I'm somebody booking you to speak, let's reverse this. So I'm a speaker booker. I go jump on your website, I have a look around. Now, does anything on your website, on your LinkedIn profile, on your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, speak to me, somebody who's looking to hire the services of a speaker? Or does it speak to your primary client, in which case it looks like I'm doing you a favor because you need publicity. So I'm going to offer you a gig for, wait for it, exposure. Because this isn't a service you have, so I'm going to help your business grow. Oh, your favorite one, Jill? Exposure. That's why they offer you exposure. That is why they offer you exposure, because you look like you need it. This isn't your thing. You look like you need it. You look like this is going to be a complementary value exchange right now. Whereas if I go on your website, there's a tab that says speaking, or I look you up and there's a whole speaking page. I'm like, shit, they do this for business. This is a business. I go on your LinkedIn, I see photographs of you on stage all over the place. It makes a difference. Perception drives price. And trust me, those who are doing this as a business, it's a service that is obviously available for hire. And if I don't see it available for hire, then I think I can get your expertise and put you in front of an audience, because you're not a professional paid speaker, you're a business owner and you happen to speak a little bit. So that gives me a little bit of confidence and I can give you a platform. But that is of your own making. That's a fixable thing, right? It's a totally fixable thing. So you've got to start, like, if you want paid speaking, and I'll come back to other ways to make speaking momentarily, but if what you're looking for is to get that paid speaking, it's super important that it's a service that's available for hire, that you take the time to build your profile, that you shine a light on those things that you do have versus those that you don't. But if I don't see this as a service, I see it as your side hustle, then I feel like I don't even feel like I'm doing you a disservice, really. I don't feel like I'm being bad by coming with this. It feels like it might be a really good fit, because trust me, as my profile has grown, nobody's come to me and thought it's free. Nobody. Not if they Googled me. And with a name like Lovelda, trust me, not very many people come up apart from me. So I'm not difficult to find. But even when people have said, oh, you should get Lovelda and it's a free gig, I'm telling you, they don't come expecting I'm not going to talk to them about money. They just don't. And then the third big thing I want to tell you why some people get paid and some people don't is some people ask and some people don't. It sounds super basic. But the number of times somebody said, oh, Lovelda, I never get the paid gigs. Like, people don't really pay me. I don't get it never comes to that. I'll say, okay, cool. So how many conversations around a speaking engagement did you have in the last couple of months? And let's say they say 10. I say, great. How many of those conversations did you have a money conversation? Oh, no, it never came up. I'm like, okay, hold on. So let's rewind for a minute. Let's say you had some coaching services and that's your business. That's what you do. You're a coach and you're on the phone with somebody. Do you just let them run this conversation and now you're coaching them for free? Is that how it works? No, you always, and if they don't have the money, then they just don't work with you. So how is it any different for a speaking business? It's a business. You don't just, you have that financial conversation. You may or may not choose to negotiate on that. But there's a minimum threshold that needs to be met. And that conversation is had in every single sales call. In your coaching business, you don't get on 10 calls, get to the end of 10 calls and not spoken about money, and then have 10 new clients, none of whom are paid. You don't do that. So why the hell are you doing it? You're speaking and wanting to call yourself a professional paid speaker. That you're not. This is a hobby, a side gig. This is something that you're doing for some other reason, but you're not a professional paid speaker. Or you don't want to be paid professionally for speaking. You don't want a speaker fee, because if that's your speaking business model, then you would be having those conversations every single time. Now, that being said, there are many different speaking business models. I do still do things where I'm not paid, but only when it makes sense. And this is the other way in which people get screwed. They're like, oh, everybody else is getting paid. I just need to get paid, because if I'm not getting paid, I'm not speaking. And I'm like, but you run a business. You're a business owner. So when I think of speaking and I think of speaking business models, I think of it like a marketing funnel. Are you familiar with the marketing funnel? I should hope so. Okay, cool. Just like to double check. Think of a marketing funnel. You have your top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, the bottom of the funnel, right? And you will do various different marketing activities for different purposes. The top of the funnel tends to typically be around exposure and getting yourself out there and brand awareness and that sort of stuff. And the bottom of the funnel marketing is really when you're doing like pure sales posts, like buy now, here's the button, here's where you pay. There's a 20% off, here's where you purchase. The top of the funnel stuff might just be giving you general information, that kind of stuff. And what you're looking to do is move people along the buying process with the funnel. I think of speaking kind of similar. I think there are various different ways in the speaking industry to make money. And the challenge is that we've bought into the belief that you're only a professional speaker if you're getting a speaking fee. And you're running a speaking business model, which is you pay me to show up to speak. And that to me is the equivalent of saying you're only an actor if you're in a blockbuster movie. But if you're doing commercials, if you're doing sitcoms, if you're on theater, you're not an actor. You are only an actor if you are in blockbuster movies, not those side hustle movies. Now, bearing in mind, all of those professions in acting, you can get paid a ton of money. You can have a good living. But no, unless you're in a blockbuster movie, we are not going to call you an actor. And so I think that's almost what we've done with the speaking industry. We've gone, unless you're being paid as a professional keynote speaker, and that is a specific type of business model that just isn't for everybody. Some actors are great in theater and some are great on the movies. But trust me, if you take a theater actor and they do exactly the same shit in the movies, it won't work. There's not a live audience to play up to. There's no live audience. You're in a studio full of cameras and stuff. It's similar to speaking. Even the way speaking runs now, just because a speaker is excellent on stage does not mean they can deliver through this platform. And just because they can do this does not mean you can have them in a hybrid situation where they're in a studio and then there's some people live and some people online. Just doesn't mean that they can do it. They're different skill sets. And so similar with speaking, it's about understanding which speaking business model do you want to operate in order to further your career and make money. Now, the big difference is if you're doing stuff at the bottom of the funnel, you're getting paid to speak. Right? You're showing up and you are being paid to show up and speak. But the way that operates is very different. There's no upsells, there's no cross sells, there's no downsells, there's no further promotion. They've already paid you. The most you can do if you want another gig is that stuff happens off the stage, especially at the higher range. If I paid you 10K to come up and speak and you get on my stage and start pimping your services, it'll be the first and last time you get hired by me. And it's similar across, it's just not done. What they're expecting and anticipating is very different to with you're at the top of the funnel where they're not giving you any fees. And what you're actually doing is that's about getting in front of the right audiences. Doesn't mean you can't get paid. I have done 3 gigs and walked away with 5K in my pocket. No word of a lie. Didn't get paid to speak, but the services I was selling, the way that I positioned myself, the audience I was in front of, I knew that with this content, in front of this audience and this offer, it's only a matter of time. And I knew I got those clients from that engagement because they were the ones there. And they'll tell me, Lovelda, I saw you speak at X, Y, and Z. So I bought your mastermind. I was selling that at like 2.5K or something like that. I think I got 2 people from the program on my mastermind program from 15 minutes on stage. So it's about thinking creatively. To me, that is still making money from speaking. But believe me, you can't do that with a keynote. Different type of talk, right? You can't take your keynote, put it at the top of the funnel and think it's going to do that for you. It doesn't. It's a different type of talk. It's a different type of positioning. You're doing a piece of content explicitly designed to move people into action to purchase or download or get on your list or something like that. The challenge is often what happens is you get an engagement and you don't evaluate the opportunity fully. And you go, oh, it's not paid, so I'm not going to do it. Whereas I go, okay, where is the money coming from? Where can I make money from this engagement? So I could have said no to that gig in Paris, which I've now been doing for 4 years on the trot. I'm the only host they call back every single year, and I front that show from year one. Trust me, they ain't paying me peanuts anymore. Every year it's gone up considerably. We have a little tussle every single year. But if I thought of it that way, I wouldn't have, and I can tell you now, that gig kickstarted my career. But it did because I thought, what are all the other ways I can make money from this? So even from a paid, my goal was, I really want to be right at the bottom of the funnel. I want to be making money from speaking. That's what I want. That's predominantly where I want to be. And so on that level, I started to think, if they're not paying me money, what else do I need that's going to make it easier for me to get the next engagement? Easier. And so if you have a great videographer and I don't have to pay to bring a videographer, trust me, I prefer that option. But initially I really didn't have the budget for it. So I was like, if you're going to get them, it's going to cost me at least a good, this is in Paris. It was going to cost me a lot to get a great videographer out there and direct them for me, because I was going to have to cover their travel, their accommodation, all of that kind of stuff. You have it already. I can knock something off the price for that because I want that. But the exchange is, we're going to look at the full value of the deal. Now, I also speak to grow my business. I speak at the top and the middle of the funnel, right? So sometimes if I'm on Clubhouse, which is free speaking, right? Nobody's paying me to be there. Nobody's paying me to be on Clubhouse. It's generated a lot of money for me, but it's very strategic. I'm on Clubhouse speaking about how you make money speaking. That's what I'm on Clubhouse speaking about. I have a clear offer every single time. My list grows, my Instagram profile grows, and often those people, in fact, I believe I met Leanne on there, often those people are the people who then come back to me several months later. It's what helps to keep my funnel filled. Because each time I'm on there, you don't need to buy now. And trust me, some people have. I've made tens of thousands from Clubhouse since the beginning of the year. Some people have, but you don't need to, because I know that something else is coming further down the line. You're either going to buy something directly now, or the next time I'm offering something, you'll be in my room or you'll be on my mailing list, because that's how I got you on my list. You heard me speak, you got a sense of who I am. I've built that trust up, which means my conversions when I run my own events are higher. And they're higher because you've probably had more touch points with me than you would have otherwise had. You've had a longer opportunity to get to know me. You've had an opportunity to speak to me. And because of that, when you hear my content, when I make a brilliant offer, you're going to buy. So the main reason isn't that the only way to make money is at the bottom of the funnel. If you're going to be speaking to grow your business, you need to get very clear on who are the audiences that are worth me getting in front of. I work pretty much exclusively with female business owners. If you have a community that's predominantly women in business who are interested in growing their profile and speaking is something that's on their mind, I'm going to come. Makes sense. It makes total sense for this to be a place for me to be. But if you come to me and you go, I've got a bunch of male investment brokers, I'm like, y'all need to pay me because I can't see somewhere else for me to get cash from. So I'm doing this because I can see that it's going to either build my profile. It's going to be a great PR opportunity. I've done stuff for that as well. So profile, PR opportunity, profit, like money in my account, or clients. That's why I'm doing them. And if you can't tick any of those boxes, why am I doing it? It would be like me saying, okay, I'll come and host a fashion show for free. Why? I don't predominantly like doing fashion shows. It's not something I want to be known for. I've done some of them before. They were hideously hard work. They were stressful for me. So I'm probably not going to use that footage. There aren't that many people in the fashion industry I really need to meet. Like, just pay me. right? But there are other events that I might be willing to negotiate because there's a great PR opportunity in there. Or there's one I did in Barcelona earlier on this year, and they host a number of different events. So it's an event company. So I know, listen, if I do a deal for the first one and you get to see me and there's other people there who've got to see me, the number of inquiries I've got this year alone from that one deal, it's probably about 5 or 6 from that one gig, because people saw me in action. It was a new marketplace. It was worth me doing. But that thinking piece is often missing. And then I just want to, before, if you've got questions, please drop them in. I'm going to have a quick look at the chat. I also just want to speak to, you've had incredible opportunities come from hosting your 2 clubs. Yeah, I can see that. So paid gigs are more on their terms. No promotions, no selling, no off-piste. Absolutely. If I'm paying you to come and do a keynote, especially if I'm paying you the top figures, you're here to help move my audience from point A to point B. It's like having a one-to-one client. Like, you're paid, if you're not paying me, I need to get something from this. So you want all of this? If you're not paying me, I can dictate more of the terms. So I could say, listen, I'll come and do this to your community, but I need at least 50 people in the room. Now, if you can have 50 people in the room, I know my conversions. I know what I'm going to be making an offer, and I'll do a good deal for your community because obviously that's going to work. I'll make a great offer, blah, blah, blah. These are the terms. I then know it makes sense for me to do. It's a great business promotional activity for me to do. It's part of my marketing. If somebody's going to bring me a qualified audience of 50 people and allow me to talk about what it is that I do and make an offer to those individuals, why would I not do it? The problem is you're just crabbing every single flipping gig that comes and then going, oh, speaking doesn't make any money. And I'm like, there's no strategy. That's why it doesn't make you any money. There's like literally no strategy. But if you can sit back and go, okay, where is my gain going to come from this? But if you don't have my audience, you don't have any sort of, like, there's literally no way I don't need the video footage. I don't need the photographs. I had a friend of mine just a couple of days ago did an event. And off the back of some of the things she's heard me saying over the years, because she tried to do a show reel a few years ago and showed it to a few people, and we all pretty much said the same thing, which was, girl, you need to up that footage. It's just not going to work. So she got this opportunity to do this engagement, which honestly, it's not paying, and she probably otherwise would not have done it. But here's how my chick turned up. She went back to the organizer. She's like good friends with him. And she said, listen, I'm turning up bougie. I'm going to have my own makeup artist, my own photographer, and my own videographer. And you better give them full access passes. She'd briefed her videographer, briefed her photographer. I think she even eventually ended up using his videographer too. Because the only reason she was doing that was to get great quality video footage of her that she was 100% in control of. And that was a primary reason she's doing it. I think she managed to pick up a couple of extra clients too, but that wasn't why she showed up. But it's about thinking there are multiple different ways to get deals. I have been paid to speak on the lower end, so paid to come into Facebook communities and that sort of stuff. And I've made an offer and then made a few grand from it. The problem is a lack of strategy, not a lack of ability. And then once you understand what your goals are, it's applying your speaking coaching to those goals. So I'll have people who they really want to learn a signature talk. And I'm like, great, but signature talks don't really work for corporate. It's a different type of thing. Or they're learning a signature talk, but they want to speak to grow their business. And look, if you're doing sales talks, they're a very different space, very different setup to a signature talk. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that unless you know your goals, you could be training your speaking in a direction it shouldn't go in. So when I work with people, I don't necessarily work on the details of what they speak about. I'm all about the business side of things. I'm like, you've got expertise, you've got a way of being able to deliver to people that works, but you're not making money from it. But the thing is, you're a business owner already. And with a few tweaks, you've already got the business mindset. You just don't know how to apply it to this industry. I'm gonna help you do that. Because once you make that application, that's when you make money from it. I had a client I started working with the beginning of this year. She's been doing stuff for BMW is now one of her clients. I think when I started working with her, she was charging a few $100. She now charges 5 figures for her speaking fees, and people pay it. It's a lot of mindset stuff. It's a lot of strategic stuff. She's got new photos. She's updated her website. And did she lose some clients? Of course she did. Because the person who wants to pay $300 doesn't want to pay 5 figures. They're just not the same clients. And when people are going to lose clients, yeah, you're going to lose clients, but that's so that you can gain clients. Because the truth is, regardless of what your fee is, you are always going to be too cheap for somebody and too expensive for somebody else. So stop focusing on the person you're too expensive for if you don't like your fee, and start focusing on the person you're too cheap for, because they're not even looking at you. It's, if I want to buy a house, my budget for housing is around £1 million. I am going to say, don't show me anything under 750. Just don't. I'm not interested. And this is, I think, what people forget, because somebody, oh, you're too expensive. Do you know what? The people at the top end of the market aren't even looking at people who are paying below, who are charging below a certain level. They're just not looking at them. And it's not a difference. I got asked a few days, I think it was on the Paid to Speak series on the VIP program. Somebody asked me, what's the difference in terms of what people are delivering when they're charging higher fees? And I was like, let me think about what I do differently. Nothing. Nothing. And if you think about it from a coaching perspective as well, you think about what the coach does who charges $100 versus what the coach does who charges 10,000. They have a call with you for an hour. That's it. That's it. They're not necessarily that in that call, like, because it's 10,000 now they're going to do, no, you're still getting an hour. They just have so much more certainty, so much more confidence, and so much more ability to move people forward. But the other thing is, a person who's charging 10,000 knows that they can move a client forward who's at the point that can charge, that pays 10,000. Right? That's what the difference is. They know that they can have results for that sort of client. The only big difference is I got more comfortable that I can deliver results regardless of the size of the organization. That's when it shifted. It was nothing else. It's just when somebody paid me X and I knocked that out of the park, I was like, shit, let me just charge a little bit more. Knock that out of the park. Shit, let me charge some more. And the clients got better. I'm not doing anything differently. I've just got more confidence in myself that the same thing I was doing for the smaller clients where I was charging a couple of $100, I can now do it for several thousand for a large client and get the same results. That's what shifted. My confidence and my ability to get results for that client. That's it. That is it. That's the only thing that stops me charging more. The actual deliverables, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Literally nothing changes. So people have got to do, no, I ask, I have to go through the same kind of sales process. They're going to want to see more evidence. If I'm going to pay somebody 5, 10K to deliver something, I'm probably not going to do it based on them telling me they're good. Let's face it, who drops that kind of money based on somebody telling them that, oh, it's good? It's a nice house. Don't worry. It's $1 million. It's a nice house. You don't need to come see it. I'm telling you, it's cool. Come on now. If I'm not seeing it, somebody who represents me is going to see it, because I am not about to drop $1 million just cause. Just not going to do it. So they're going to scrutinize a little bit more, because they're going to get scrutinized a little bit more. They have to have confidence that they made the right decision. They don't want to be that person like, who hired this fool? They don't want to be known as that person. So they're going to want to have a look at these things. All that means is you've got to collect them. And before you tell me, oh, everything's online, so what? If you're delivering online, what do you think is going to help to convince me that you're going to be great for my online event? Photos of you and video of you on stage, or photos of videos of you doing something in the format in which I'm going to be hiring you? Which do you think is probably going to work better? So before you start saying, oh, it's all online, Lovelda, how am I going to get footage? I can tell you digital event organizers want to see footage of you performing digitally. They don't want to see footage of you on a stage because they've been burnt enough times by people who are awesome on stage and crap here. Basically is what it comes down to. They've got the burn marks for it. They want to know that when they hire you, you're going to turn up, your lighting's going to be on point, they're going to be able to hear you, that you're going to have the energy, you're going to be able to deliver effectively in this format. That's what they're going to want to see. So I always say, whatever it is you want to be hired for, you want as close as possible, like for like footage. If you're hiring me to do a panel, I'm going to send you footage of me doing panels. If it's live panels, I'm going to send you live footage of me live on stage. If it's virtual, I'm going to send you footage of me doing panels virtually. Why? Because the closer you can see me in action doing the thing you want to pay me for, the greater the confidence is going to be. Otherwise, there's always going to be a question in the back of your head. Oh, but she asked questions like, is she going to be able to handle the chat? But if I can see you doing it exactly in the same format, I don't have those questions. Just not going to have them. And then Rick, drop your questions in, by the way, folks. Rick, before we move on, you wanted to learn about how do you connect better where you've gone from the medical profession and all these medical people, and now you're like, how do I get into a different audience? You find the common thread and you take it up a few notches. It's similar to what I would say to somebody who's had a lot of trauma and they're used to dealing with people in that space, and you're going to audiences who maybe haven't. There's always some commonality. So you take it back to what are the key lessons? What are the key learnings? What are the universal truths that you've taken from here that are going to be relevant? Because now I'm still interested. But if you go too deep into the specifics and the language of the medical profession, I'll switch off. But if you can show me how you're even better positioned because of what you've done over here. So you'll hear me often talk about like that I worked in sales for 8 years. Now I could say it's totally different. It's completely different to work in a sales, corporate sales, healthcare, medical, procurement companies. Totally freaking different. That's where I was. But it's what allows me to be very different to somebody else who's teaching you how to make money speaking, because I learned a lot about selling stuff because I sold 2 companies. I had to sit with them and negotiate with them. I learned a lot about how to negotiate, about how to push, how far to push, what languages to use, that I have firsthand experience as a corporate salesperson for 8 years that I otherwise wouldn't have. Now, if you've just learned to sell in one position, that's great. But I've been selling to coaches for my coaching program. I've been selling into corporate organizations. I've been selling to people for speaking. I have a sales background and I've done it very successfully. And when I left my career, I was at the top of my career. I think I've done the first half of the year's quota in the first quarter when I quit. So I was already ahead. They just were pissing me off. I couldn't do no more. I need to leave. So I learned a lot about what that meant. And so I bring that a lot into the work that I'm doing. So I often say to people, don't drop the stuff that you've done before. Don't let it go. Bring it in, but make it relevant. Allow it to make you differentiated. I'm so good because I have this background, and nobody else is going to have that same blueprint. Nobody else can say they worked in events, they worked in sales, they host, they teach people, they run a business themselves. And as a result, I have a true understanding of what you're experiencing when you're going out to sell. And I've done it in multiple different parts of the event industry. That's my unique blueprint, but you can go work with somebody else. They're going to have a different blueprint. Might suit you better, may not. But if these are your problems, these are my credentials. This is what makes me unique. And then you never have to fight with anybody again, because they're not going to have that.